When we did all of that, in the beginning we had enormous resistance again, but gradually we did it second time, third time. We didn't leave it alone. I was not satisfied when the second time came, even the third. I said, no, let's give it time. We have to go back to the people. In the end, they came up with their own solutions, actually. They, instead of being part of a problem, they became part of the solution. And that's how we were able to be able to contain, instead of some 50% was required increase in staff for that year, we stayed on exactly the same number of people and with much greater activity across the board. So what's the lessons? Obviously, the first one is you bring somebody, even though you may be internally capable to do a given act, it's better to bring somebody from outside so that you say, you see, this is the experts who was saying that. And it's neutral party. Secondly, the small gains, the small successes, very important for people to see so that they can then change. And, of course, you are living this on a daily basis, HR people. HR is not always doing nice things. It is sometimes doing the right things to channel individual aspirations towards organizational goals. Sense of urgency is very important. The shock and awe. It's always sense of urgency. It's always sense of urgency because things are not the same. You always have to compete. You always have to change. You always have to come up with something different in order to survive. And that's what Bank Sohar is all about. On a daily basis, we're thinking of what next? How do we do this differently? Just because you're doing well, in fact, on the contrary, because you're doing well, you need to work even harder in order to continue to do well. It's a much greater challenge when you're doing well. How true this one is, what Bill Gates is saying. Take our 20 best people away, and I will tell you that Microsoft would become an unimportant company. I very much agree with that it takes a handful of people to be the movers and shakers in any organization. You need only a few people. You know what Archimedes said? Give me a lever long enough and I will move the earth. These are the levers, the few people, the handful of people that you have. It might be only 2 or 3, but they're going to change your organization. So you need, in any organization, those few people who act as the catalysts, who would be pushing, and who have the right vision and ability to act and to do things. So creativity is such a delicate thing. It's an ongoing thing, and again, it's quite hard to do, and it requires competence as well as aptitude, just like everything else. So we have the Mr. Trust and Miss Creativity. So ladies, you are all creative. I don't know whether women would say that we trust men. It's only possible if they all work together, obviously. That's very, very important. And to get away from bureaucracy. I don't believe in bureaucracy, incidentally. Which takes us to this. In executing, we did some murdering and we did some nurturing. Hierarchies, you have to pull up your sleeves and work. It's not about hierarchy, it's about doing something. And in doing that, you go to the right people rather than the right position. It's not the position that will give you, it's the competence, the aptitude, The person sitting somewhere who has given strengths. So you go on to that. You draw upon that. So no hierarchies. And of course, you should be friends. No formalities. No closed doors. Be open with each other. And forget these blame games. Each one blaming the other. That will not get you anywhere. In the end, the failure, when you fail, you will be blaming others onto that failure. No, that should be removed. And this is the silos. Find that not only each division will be looking unto itself as if it's different from the other divisions and will have all their demands and will be competing against the others. You find that within the divisions, the units. I've seen that for myself. And that's one of the first things you need to destroy, the silos part of it. They should act as one. For us, we always say, it's a Bank Sohar family, please. It's not corporate, it's not retail, it's not operations, it's one family. You're all working for Bank Sohar, full stop. So, what do we create? Management that is accessible with each other, they talk to each other, they're ready anytime. And when I say anytime, I mean anytime. It's not the so-called 9 to 5. It's anytime. Even on holidays, we are accessible. Wherever we are. You're on a cruise liner and somebody will call you. And you're ready to pick it up. And of course, you rely on spoken words and gentleman's agreement. And there is the open door policy, responsibility taking, and joint solution finding. I think we touched upon these things earlier. What did it end up with? Working from within. Passion. The right attitude. Can-do attitude. It's a challenge. It's always a challenge and not a problem. We don't like the word problem in Bank Sohar. Your perception changes everything. When you say this is a problem, immediately your mind swells up and says, my God, I can't do this. When you say, no, it's a challenge, that's fine, no problem. We can do it. Then you start digging for the answers. And obviously, you need to have the good old diligence, the hard work. So those are cultures. Some more pieces of this secret sauce of the culture that we fostered is the feedback. As I said earlier, whatever you do, you must turn back. You must have a feedback. You shouldn't just think that this is it, this is right, and this is the way, this is what we have written that we're going to do, and you stay with that. No, not at all. Feedback is very important, because otherwise, what's the use of learning? What's the use of experience? You're staying in the same place. You'll get nowhere. Secondly, very, very important, enjoy it. Whenever I meet a group of my colleagues, I always end up by saying, please, above all, enjoy what you're doing. Have fun. Again, that will allow people to think from within, to act from within. And of course, we must have a sense of tasks and goals rather than work. So again, the perception part of it. Change the perception. You will then look at your work not as a chore, as something that you have to do, but something you can do and you love to do. As smaller steps, tasks and goals, smaller steps. Break it down. Incidentally, we obviously also believe in the younger people because they come up with ideas out of the box, things that, the elder people may not be because they're ingrained, the elder people are more ingrained in their thinking. Some elder people are young on a daily basis, that's fine. And that's what needs to be done. So the younger people will remind you, will come up with an idea that you haven't even thought about. Then we also do all of these, as I said, Bank Sohar family things, where there's a sharing of home-cooked meals and all of the others. Movies, family days, special events, and so on and so forth. This is a good quote. Equipment, procedures, those things can be duplicated. Human capital is the only area where companies can really differentiate themselves. So true. You can always buy capital, you can always buy machinery, but you can even buy the people, incidentally. But it's how the people think in that environment and how they think with each other is what would make all the difference between you and your competitor. It is the people, but it's how they bring themselves onto the work and with each other. So, in terms of the daily operations, in terms of what they meet on a daily basis, challenges, what do they bring to the table? What kind of mindset do they bring to the table? Is it motivation or is it passion? What's the difference? Everybody say motivation is very good. Yes, it's very good, but you need to be motivated in order to have motivation. While passion is something that is imprinted within you. It's already there. So it's much better to have passion than to have motivation. You need the motivation in order to have the passion to start off with, but thereafter you're onto a momentum. Is it to do a job or is it to accomplish it? If you're doing it, you just have to, okay, you do it. But you think in terms of accomplishing something, that is much greater achievement. It puts your mindset into a higher pedestal. Are you punctual? Just coming? 9 to 5? Or are you doing within that punctuality, within that period? Are you delivering what you need to be delivering? As I said, you might be able to deliver in 1/4 of the time compared to the other, while the others might be there all the time, but they're not able to deliver that. So it's what you do within that time is important. It's not just punctuality. Hard work versus diligence. Just do it, or are you going the extra mile? So we throw away Nike and we run even faster. You may have the knowledge, but if you don't have the confidence in yourself in terms of applying that knowledge, then again, you don't go towards that extra mile. Confidence is so important in everything you do in life, and obviously in terms of the workplace. And finally, do we really enjoy what we are doing? One for all for one. Teamwork. So, on a daily basis, you need to have that right mindset where you're committed, where you're passionate about what you're doing, where you're solution-oriented to meet the challenges. So, as HR, you need to set the right temperature for that. One of the ways, this is to set the right temperature. There's myriads of factors, myriads of things that you need to do, and we have been talking a lot about it, but some of the others are the following, where you don't just work together, you have a portion of your living together in terms of celebrating publicly and loudly and with lots of food. I've been doing that, you can see. So the individual achievements, whether it's individual or group achievements or bank-wide achievements, we will celebrate. When you celebrate, you feel the excitement. You remind yourself that yes, you have reached a given milestone, but more importantly, you need to continue along that journey for more and more milestones. It's not because you have reached that milestone, actually. More importantly, because it gives you the fuel, the encouragement, and the confidence to move on to higher achievements. We have to foster and encourage personal growth. And we'll be talking about that in a minute. Make the workplace a fun place to choose to be in. And the spirit is going to be infectious and comes across to customers as well. You see, you know what they say? If you have a happy internal customer, you will end up with happy external customers. So you have your staff who are happy to be working in a given environment. They'll be working so hard, and that will show up towards the customers. Finally, now we move on to the role of HR strategy. We talked a bit about this already. In fact, we talked about the HR strategy playing a pivotal role in terms of the personality part, the attitude part, the mindset part of the individual, as well as creating that environment of creativity and teamwork, as well as encouraging the personal growth. How do we do that? If we take these 4 elements, starting with selection, recruitment, working environment, and then nurturing the staff, and thereafter trying to retain him. We'll go through each one of them. On the selection and recruitment, it's not just about what you know. It's not just about the skill level of the staff. Equally importantly, if actually more importantly, is the other aspects, the emotional intelligence, the EI. You know what they say, EI is more important than IQ, although this is not about the IQ you were talking about, it's more about the skills, the competence. So in that, we don't just look at how good you are in your work, in that, when we are recruiting somebody, we don't just look at how good that person is in terms of the work, but what are his personality traits? Is he a good fit? Is there attunement between the personality of that individual and the job that he or she will be occupying? In terms of the work environment, we go beyond the hygiene factors. The hygiene factors are the basics, the prerequisites, but that's what everybody's doing. For success, you need to go beyond what everybody else is doing. And here we seek the formal and informal. There's always a feedback loop between the staff and the HR. Our HR team every year, they go and meet more or less everybody. They have a program of going and meeting different groups and to hear from them. And once they hear from them, they don't stop there. They act upon them. They have a program of how to fulfill those gaps or those desires that need to be fulfilled. Obviously, there's a whole wish list that will be coming. Most of it is not needed, not doable, but the ones that are realistic, those are the ones that need to be met. And we do encourage people to speak out, but of course it has to be in a responsible manner. In any meeting, we say, look, there's no such thing, whoever you are, whether you are the CEO or you're the GM or DGM, in a discussion, everybody is equal. It's the brains that matter and not the position. It's the ideas that people bring onto the table that matter and not the position. And that's what we encourage. Obviously, we should not have time for gossip and innuendos and things like that. And we do encourage, obviously, the culture of celebration for reasons that I gave earlier. And here we have a number of ways of doing that. We have something called the Star Awards, where every month we have people who are getting different kinds of awards. So, and everybody knows about it. Whoever gets an award is going to be known by the others, so it creates that feeling that, yes, next time I want to be there. I want my name to be showing up. I want my photo to be there. Next is nurturing. So you have recruited the right person, hopefully. You have placed him or her in the right working environment. Then you need to ensure that he or she gets the right development. Obviously, you have to start by understanding what his or her needs are, which is the TNA part of it. And this we do in a number of ways. Among them is the HR appraisal system, incidentally, that will tell us what are the needs for each and every staff. And then we work on that in terms of providing the right programs, or even coaching and mentoring is part of that, incidentally. It's not just the training, but also coaching, and development is what? It comes in so many different forms. We also have, just like every other bank, succession planning, and again, it's not a static concept, it's a dynamic concept. Dynamic in the sense that we don't just say, okay, Mr. X will replace Mr. Y, but we work on Mr. X to be in a position to succeed Mr. Y. And then we scout around for people who have the talent. Not everybody's alike. So you need to pick those people, the budding ones, who show a lot of promise, and then develop them and have special programs for them. We have introduced blended learning. We have so many different programs, actually, a large number of programs, but this one is something that is dear to my heart, blended learning, where we have teamed up with Harvard Business School, and it goes through the whole competency part of it with other different people. The beauty of this is that it is online. It's in your own time. Yet at the same time, there's a surveillance in terms of what you're doing, how much time you're putting in. So it's not just, I do it in my own any time, or I don't do so many hours. And then because of that, there'll be feedback from the HR saying you have done so much, or here where you are failing, and from the surveillance team. And this is now across the bank that we are doing. I think we are one of the few people in Oman who are doing it. PDO is doing it, and who else? Muthir? It's not, too many people who are doing it. Retention. When you do everything else, hopefully you'll be able to retain, but we have something else, a challenge, because when you're doing well as an institution, the other banks, the first thing they look at is the institutions that are doing well in terms of poaching, So you become liable for that. But that's fine, that's part of life. Yet, really, we were looking at our staff turnover, we find that very few of the people whom we wanted to stay on left. Very few people. A lot who left, they were just not able to perform in this environment. And in terms of again, from the shareholder perspective, share performance among banks in Oman is when we did our computation, we found we are by far the highest for 2013. And did we win awards? 2013. We got, the beauty of the awards that we got were, one, that not only were they were local, they were regional, and they were international. Secondly, they touched upon all areas of performance. You can see there, in terms of the categories. Prudent management, best supportive bank for tourism projects in the Arab world, fastest growing bank in Oman, top bank among large corporate enterprises, CEO of the Year, quality and business prestige, corporate social responsibility, innovation, quality and commitment to excellence, excellent business reputation, effective management and constant growth, 20 best market performance. I had to skip number 10. So that is basically a recognition from the outsiders in terms of some of the learnings. HR practices crucially determine the success of an organization. You all know that. When you do a given strategy, when you go for a change, you need to change the people minds. When I took over, I said, I'm not going to change the people, I'm going to change their minds. And that's what we did, actually. Yet, you do it appropriately. You do it in a humane way. You're dealing with people. You have to do it in a way in which you understand that things, you cannot just have it your way. You have to understand there are roadblocks in front of you. How do you meander through that? Very important. And I hope this is what I've been talking about throughout. Finally, they need to see the success. They need to be assured of that. Once it's proved to them, they'll be with you. They will join you along the way. In a nutshell, I would say Bank Sohar owes its exceptional success to its vision, people, and culture. Vision, you need to know where you want to be. You need to know what your destination is. So important. People, they are the ones who will make it happen. Culture, that's the lubricating element in it all. Crucial lubricating element. And it is the people, it's within the people that the culture grows. And it's that people across themselves together, part of it, that makes it happen. Thank you very much.